You think you know what a haunting sounds like? But SCP-4073 started as a noise you could blame on your own body. The Foundation later called it an anomaly, and the joke never really left. The archive documentation begins with a warning. The anomaly described herein has been neutralized. RESA and Level 5 administration kept the file for posterity. SCP-4073 moved through statuses, including Euclid and explained. Archived containment was still written like it mattered. POI 40731 and POI 40732 were low-grade amnestics were to be used as needed. Non-consenting staff were told to wear N95 respirator masks. They also wore sound-canceling earphones in active zones. Participants were encouraged to vocalize their relief. That was to help confirm thermal readings. The early synopsis says SCP-4073 affected 3 El Paso residents. Mr. Dale and Mrs. Judy lived with their 4-year-old son. The family reported faint droning sounds about 80% of the time. The sounds began without warning. They grew louder with time. They said groaning and rumbling. They said squeaking. The file notes the sounds display different traits per person. Olfactory effects were noted about 60% of the time. There was no consensus on the odor. It was always unpleasant. Tactile sensations were also reported. Dreadful vibrations were named. Thermal discrepancies followed some manifestations. The history claims it began in 1893 in Garland, Texas. Father Ludell contacted the Foundation after an exorcism attempt. He had empathy because the family was under severe psychological stress. At first, they suspected a hexed domicile. The events happened when the family was alone. They happened in ritual-like configurations. They happened at the dinner table. They happened in early morning hours. They startled the family from sleep. Ill intent was deemed likely. Finances and socialization and occupation were affected. Then the couple moved to El Paso. They said the phenomenon followed. They were told by letter to stay put for research logistics. The team planned to confiscate the family after confirmation. Later, a journal entry twisted the whole story. Nunez wrote about a dinner and he described it involving Mr. and Mrs. He called it the most ghastly display he had witnessed. He concluded it was no bona fide anomaly. Additional visits confirmed the source of the reports. Father Lodell was retired from consultation at age 73. The SCP-4073 file was reopened for repopulation by a valid anomaly. In December 1993, the SCP-4073 slot was used again. 2 sisters wrote to unsolved diagnoses. They described a gastrointestinal malady in similar terms. The reinstated SCP-4073 was a Euclid-class anomaly. It named a lineage from Harold Gene. It said about 85% of the populace were susceptible. Hearing or smell could trigger perpetuation. It could cause a chain reaction. The longest observed reaction involved 83 individuals. The mechanism of action was unknown. Geneticists suggested an autosomal dominant allele. Initial containment quarantined the sisters at Site M16. Ethics-backed initiatives reduced invasion. Foundation Pharmaceuticals developed compounds to chemically contain it. They aimed at neural pathways between senses and the gut. Double-blinded trials ran with mitigated freedom and mild emetic. It also neutralized those affected by the contagious qualities. It ceased production and reflexive yawning responses. The sisters were released from containment. They were followed in a Foundation-mediated longitudinal cohort study. In January 2033, with their deaths, SCP-4073 was declared neutralized. It would remain so unless more lineage members were found. The page sits between SCP-4072 and SCP-40.